The modern city, a hard, unforgiving place, cramped, ordered, stifling. A place that increasingly restricts where we go and what we do. A place that, especially for young people, threatens to limit freedom and creativity. But does it have to be that way? Can we learn to use its shapes, structures, its very architecture to explore a whole new sense of freedom? Is there an entirely different way of seeing our urban environment? There is. It's called parkour. Parkour is an art of movement, a highly physical training discipline involving running, jumping, climbing, balancing, dropping and mastering one's own movements. The word parkour is a French term that derives from the word for a course or a route. Practitioners are called traceurs, and their aim is to move without restriction over any terrain, overcoming the obstacles in their path, moving from point A to point B in a fast, fluid and efficient way. Innovative, explosive, graceful and dynamic, parkour is by its very nature a spectacular phenomenon. But it's more than just a form of physical expression. The central concept of finding a path through any terrain, using only your body, mirrors a deeper concept of navigating any and all obstacles in life with a positive attitude and a profound self-discipline. The parkour action we see today in films or on TV commercials, documentaries and performances is there due to a particular way of training that was created in France by the pioneers of the sport.
So parkour began in Paris, in a suburb of Paris, in the 80s. And at this time, there were no media interests about the sport. So just the pioneer guys, 10 guys, who were just animated by a deep desire to be alive and express themselves and train very, very, very hard. That was the main concern, the main goal every day. Just train very, very hard. That's it. Parkour!
Their disciplined and dedicated training led to a very high level of physical achievement, and the movements created by the French traceurs meant that soon the media became interested. Commercials, films and documentaries were created, introducing and presenting parkour to a new audience outside of the French parkour community. The Channel 4 documentaries Jump London and Jump Britain played a huge role in bringing parkour to a mainstream audience both in the UK and internationally. One man inspired to action after seeing the Jump documentaries was Eugene Minogue, a community sports officer for Westminster Council. Recognising the potential of parkour, he located two of the top instructors in the UK, Dan Edwardes and Forrest. They began working together on the Westminster Sports Unit Positive Futures programme, a project that helps young people in the city explore their full potential through sport.
I thought parkour was a very underground, very urban sport, something that the young people could relate to and do. Something different.
As a practitioner and teacher of parkour, I'd very much like to see people approaching the discipline from a methodical standpoint, really sort of beginning from the ground up.
Parkour, it's more a combination of movement. It's more how to learn about yourself, how to learn about your environment, how to be able to adapt with your environment, to be able to move everywhere, and to be able to understand how your body works as well, your body and your mind.
The sports unit is one of our key partners in the borough because sport is clearly a very successful way of engaging with all young people. Because research will say if they're fully engaged in a good way, they're far less likely to be involved in crime or antisocial behaviour.
West 10, West 10!
No, we just heard about it, I went on the internet and found out about it.
I was just watching TV and this thing came on, Jump London and Jump Britain.
I just wanted to get a hobby.
It's good to keep you off the streets. It's good to keep you off the streets as well.
Positive Futures is a social inclusion programme for young people aged 8 to 19, managed by Crime Concern on behalf of the Home Office Crime and Drug Strategy Directorate. Focusing on the most deprived wards of Westminster, the programme uses sports and arts-based activities to build relationships with young people in order to assist their personal development and provide opportunities in education, training and employment.
It's good because I like jumping. I jump around anywhere I can.
They've got huge amounts of energy and they're very exuberant, and it's just a question of trying to focus that energy. And they're going to use it one way or another, so you just try and focus it down the correct channel, but it's a pretty broad channel. You can't narrow it down too much, you've got to let them just have fun with it, and they do.
Westminster's Positive Futures programme meets the Every Child Matters framework, which is helping hundreds of young people through the 5 key outcomes of staying safe, being healthy, enjoying and achieving, making a positive contribution, and achieving economic well-being. It aims to help young people develop a positive future.
I think the children like it because they were very involved, they were smiley, they wanted, I want to try again,
Yeah, get the legs up.
It's hard,
Okay, and you are in this position, like that.
We've been learning how to do cat leap and we've been doing monkey warm-ups. There's loads of things to do in Stoke Club, but I like this one the best. And because the people are really nice and they teach me different things. Well, inside Stowe is a very nice place, but outside Stowe, well, it's crowded, but the shops are really nice and stuff, so. And it can get a bit rough sometimes.
It's really good, and you have to be a bit flexible, but I'm not. And it's quite hard, but it's easy as well. And even little people can do it as well.
It's really fun and it's challenging, because when it's challenging it's much better for kids, so then they'll find it more fun.
If they are going to do this sort of stuff, they'll see it on TV and in the media. They are going to mimic it, and we want them to mimic it in a safe way. So we're trying to teach them, give them a good foundation right from the start, and teach them to approach things carefully and work within their bounds and improve bit by bit so they don't injure themselves, because they are going to mimic it, so it's best if they mimic it safely.
The young people who benefit from the Positive Futures parkour workshops come primarily from disadvantaged inner city areas. Typically, these children have limited or no access to sports facilities or dedicated sports instructors. The workshops offer them an opportunity to utilise both. While exploring their own physical potential, these young people will also improve social skills and develop self-confidence.
I've been doing it about half a year. It shouldn't just go onto the street, just jumping about doing parkour. It should just consult someone who knows how to do it, then just gradually do it on soft mats. Then when you get better, you can do it on the street. But not if you just want to do parkour as a little joke. You should take it serious, because you could hurt yourself.
I think it's great because I wanted to study gymnastics, and I think this is kind of like gymnastics for me, and it's helping me be more flexible than I am. It's a way a fun way to exercise, not like running round like a building how many times. Although it's exercising, but it's not really fun. This is like learning how to do something, and it's fun. And
the kind of skills they pick up from this is, well, physically obviously they're developing their coordination and their musculature, and hopefully strengthening their joints and developing their general anatomy. But also, most importantly, probably they're building up mental skills. They're picking up confidence, self-esteem, the ability to push themselves a little bit further than they usually would.
I feel wicked. I can't believe I jumped that far.
You can see they're not really used to pushing themselves beyond what's comfortable for them. When you bring out the stopwatch and just give a little bit of challenge from the other kids around them, then they start working harder and they improve, they make gains. So, and this for them is an important step to take, I think, mentally, because they realise that if they do apply themselves to something, they can come away with new skills and have improved their potential and push their limits beyond what they thought it was.
Sport gives people confidence. They become aware of their own abilities to do something. In a lot of cases, and a lot of instances, particularly at schools, you play ball games, children who can't catch and can't throw are ostracised by their fellow children, which is a huge pressure. Now, if they're doing a sport which they can succeed at and can be seen by their peers to succeed at, it changes their whole perception. They become self-confident, it changes the way they socialise, the way they deal in schools. There are various studies that have been done which show that successfully active children improve their school rankings. Their behaviour within school gets better because they become much more confident in their own abilities. They don't tend to rebel.
Okay, so now we go outside.
Yeah!
We're going to take them outdoors for the first time, so they begin to make the transition from indoors to outdoors, which is very important to do early on in your training. Even at this young age, they should start to apply the technical stuff they learn in here to outdoors.
Yes. Okay, right here, it's exactly the same as the beam. When you walk, it's flat foot, and you do heel, toes, heel, toes.
And don't touch the ground either.
And don't touch. We're going to try to do a little challenge. One by one, you're going to start walking on the bollards, and you try to go the farthest. But when you touch my hands, because you lose your balance, you know, it means for you it's over. If you feel that you drop, just you touch my hand. I'm going to catch you.
Yeah, I mean, most kids do this kind of stuff naturally. They move around in their terrain. They don't go where they're sort of meant to go by convention. They'll, climb on railings and walls and all that sort of stuff. But the difference between that and parkour is that in parkour you train in a disciplined and methodical and structured way to become very, very efficient at doing this and very capable of doing it in any environment in a very fast, fluid and dynamic way. The other difference is that you push yourself to overcome your fears, really. And when you're a kid doing this sort of stuff, you won't really do things that frighten you a lot because you're not doing it for any reason other than for enjoyment, obviously, when you're young. So if something looks scary, you just, you won't do it.
Oh, when we talked about parkour is not just the rooftop. It's not just the jump between roof. Sometimes it's just this kind of exercise and just to find a solution. This is the starting point and this is the ending point. So you have to start the solution to be able to reach the point. This is parkour.
I don't think I can do it, but I'm gonna try still. Should never give up.
Whoa! Okay, but you have to stay in balance.
As with many sporting pursuits, there's an element of risk within the practice of parkour. Using no protective clothing and moving in spaces not designed for such unrestricted movement, practitioners with a high level of skill seem to court danger at every turn. However, for the traceur, these risks are calculated ones and are only ever taken after intensive training and preparation. Far from being adrenaline junkies or risk addicted, these individuals are keen to point out that their discipline requires a calm and clear mind, an approach that has no room for thoughts of risk or danger. The focus is always on the perfection of movement.
People have an idea about parkour, which is like, okay, so you jump from building to building, this is parkour, and this is not. Parkour, once again, is a way of training and thinking and moving. Parkour is not all about big jump, it's also imagination, creation, and just find movement.
Now, a lot of youngsters are involved in sport, they can get involved in sport, but not all. Some of the sporting facilities now, they've not had any access to. They've been excluded from school at a young age, they've lived on the street, they haven't got the same connections. So what we try and do is research alternative programs and projects that we can sort of recommend young people to go into. A good example of that would be the sort of Parkour project, where they encourage people to come in to spaces that are already there and gradually work with their environment, respect for the environment, respect for their body, and it's an alternative way of looking at things instead of the organised five-a-side football that perhaps that traditional space has been used for. We need to explore as many different avenues to divert young people away from crime, antisocial behaviour as we possibly can, because one rule does not fit all.
From the land of the broken promises, it's all estates, no cottages. When man busts and dusts and leave girls that longage it straight to the grind, no time for the colleges. But what are we doing for the movement? I'm trying to inform cause I already knew this. Government know that the youth them are ruthless. It's alright, but there's still room for improvement. Look, so make the most of it. no joke of it. I wanna be proud, look back and make a toast to it. I'm being more than truthful, you man are more than useful. So get your head to it, get to it, let's do it. We need to rise above, look, don't hide from love. We all got potential, but it's time to rise from dust. I ain't lying, bro, just start at a B-Tech National and rise to the heights above.
There's a big culture in the UK at the moment of no ball games, with signs going up everywhere. This contributes in limiting the amount of space that young people can play on and be physically active. The culture is forcing young people into the negative aspects of social life, such as crime, antisocial behaviour and drug misuse. Using parkour, young people look at their local environments in a different way so that they can use it to their benefit to do something positive and constructive. All you need is a pair of trainers and you can follow your own path.
In our school, all we do is like football, but this is like gymnastics and that, and it makes you feel much better than doing all these other stuff.
And it makes you feel much more fitter.
Yeah, and it's something different, and it's a change as well.
It's fun, and just like walls and tables and just poles and stairs and all that just makes it fun to jump from. And like it's just the risk of falling and the excitement, the adrenaline. It's good that it's not just like kicking a ball or hitting a ball or anything like that. It's more like just using the talent that you're born with to like use it to something effective. You don't need to be all rich and buy a new pair of shoes every or pair of like boots every like month just to be good at it. Yeah, that's why.
It's good because we've never done parkour before, and technically they are very, very skilled, and they'll be able to progress very, very quick. So it's nice.
All you're going to do is you're going to cat balance along it, okay? So in this position, your hands and feet, and you're just going to walk along it on all fours, yeah? Easy, yeah? All you have to do is walk to the end, to that silver bar. Okay? So you just relax, keep your balance, take your time, you don't need to walk fast. Hands and then feet. Yes. Okay?
See?
I think they love it because it's just like you don't need a ball, you don't need money, all you need is a fence and a pair of trainers. So it's something everyone can do as well. There's something like you don't have to be able to jump over something big to do parkour. You can just like be easy, keep going, be simple. Really, anyone can do it anywhere, at any time in the day, anywhere in the world.
You get to the end and you think, and you're not close to the end, so you're thinking, oh, I could do it, and that makes you worry because you start thinking, oh no, but if I fall, I'll come all this way for nothing. Don't think about any of that. Just concentrate on the technique. Just concentrate on the technique, the hand, the feet, the hands, the feet, and eventually you'll think, oh, I'm at the end. Don't worry about the end. Just concentrate on the technique, yeah? Yes. It's very good. In parkour terms, if you apply yourself to the training, you can actually learn to do this stuff and jump and move in ways you don't think you can. And so through that, hopefully that thinking will sort of sink in and apply that to other aspects in life. Hopefully. And maybe they'll get a bit fitter, a bit stronger, and grow up fit and healthy and lead long lives.
35!
Smash the record, mate. 35.
35 seconds.
Let me have a go.
Crime in the local community fell by 69% during Easter of 2006 and 53% during the summer of 2006 when the Positive Futures team were working with parkour instructors.
How you doing, darling?
There undoubtedly would be a feeling within some areas that by teaching children these kind of skills that they could put them to use in illicit means. We're teaching cat burglars of the future. This is an attitude of mind as much as anything else, and if you're teaching children to be positive, then they won't go down a negative route.
As well as the community centre workshops, the parkour instructors, in collaboration with Westminster's Positive Futures programme, have established a weekly youth academy in London that offers free training for under-19s in Westminster. A further significant step was taken when several London schools incorporated regular parkour classes into their physical education curriculum. Parkour gets back to the basics of what PE should really be about: self-control, core stability, coordination and balance.
Matt's is coming in 2 minutes, but we can start the warm-up.
I really rate Forrest and Dan in terms of the way that they come and speak to the children, the connection they have with them as soon as they walk into the room is great. They have a real presence when they arrived here at school, I think all the boys particularly were really in awe of them and felt that they could really learn something from these guys, because the boys are really modest in the way that they approach it, and I really like that in them. I think they show the boys what they're expecting in terms of just sort of almost step over or jump or slightly jump over something, and then they let the boys do it, and then they kind of demonstrate exactly what they're looking for, which kind of reinforces the learning they're trying to put forward to the boys. I feel that parkour should really be done outside. The first couple of lessons we had here were in the gym, because there was kind of something in the back of my head which said I'm not sure the school will be too happy with me taking the children outside. And then I saw it the first time and realised just how well the boys did inside, and I arranged a form, a disclaimer really, just stating that they won't participate or try parkour when the instructors aren't here, when Dan and Forrest aren't here.
We try to not disturb the people who are. You do line up there, you have 2 volts to do. The only things I want, guys, that you'll be safe. Don't try to be overconfident. Don't try to do something too dangerous. Just you have 2 volts to do, okay?
Westminster's Positive Futures Parkour programme has developed a nationally recognised accreditation for parkour through the Assessment and Qualification Alliance, implementing the AQA Unit Award Scheme in Parkour Units 1 and 2.
I love the control of it. I think that the control and discipline of everything is sometimes lost in the kind of doing repetition and making sure that the small, minute details covered in every sport, not just in the stuff, the balance work they're doing here, is really, really important for them to take that to other sports, because everything does connect to everything else, and it's really important for their core strengths, core stability, balance, all those sorts of things. So that's right.
Yeah!
The children could jump over things or climb things where they shouldn't be and things like that, but I think that the values which Forrest and Dan particularly come with are very legal in terms of they're teaching them self-discipline more than they're teaching them to do anything illegal.
You can't practice parkour without trespassing or going in private property.
We don't seek to go places where we're not meant to go and not allowed to go, because we're just going to, if you do that, eventually we'll get kicked off and that will sort of ruin the training session. So we may as well go to somewhere where we can train, where we know we're not going to be bothered. And you can always find that kind of space in the city. There's plenty of spaces that are public access, that are free to use.
Parkour is particularly valuable for those pupils who are difficult to engage in more formal gymnastic activities, meeting many of the objectives in areas such as flight, balance and skill work. Pupils can learn the correct way to jump, land and utilise flight in a safe environment. Parkour challenges these young people in a unique and safe way.
Well, with parkour, what we've managed to do is get a group of generally under-participating students really excited about doing physical activity again.
Parkour's like funner than most sports.
Yeah, I know, it's like, because there's no like rules or anything, you just like go. There's no rules, you can do whatever you want, and it's really different to other sports. And it's like the first time we had the apparatus out, so it's really nice to use it. It's not like other sports, you know, like some things you like have to do in the gym, and some things you have to do outside. It's like mixture. Yeah, they don't tell you like there's a rule, like you can't go here, you can't go there. You go everywhere, but there's a special style to go.
So it's quite important for students to be challenged as individuals, not be challenged as a class, as a whole big cohort. Students like to experience challenge on an individual level. So I think that's one of the reasons why parkour has been successful. And also the ability of instructors to differentiate the task to make it suitable for them. And then it brings in the whole idea about self-expression and self-challenge, so they can sort of set their own standards that they want to kind of achieve. It might be very difficult for one student to make a vault over a certain obstacle, all right? But it might be very easy for another student to do it, so they can do it quicker and smoother. But just to get over an obstacle might be a challenge in itself, which might be a huge mountain for some students to climb. Parkour does offer, you know, an element of danger and an element of challenge. If that's managed effectively and the students are allowed to express themselves and challenge themselves to a level at which they feel comfortable, then that's a good thing, okay? Rather than sterilising the activity and removing all boundaries from it, if we offer a little bit of risk, they engage it to a level they feel comfortable, embrace it, deal with it, then they're stronger people as a result.
Will there be any chance like more sessions of parkour, like instead of just once a week? I don't know, 2 times a week or even 3.
We want to get interested in it, but we're like a bit embarrassed maybe to do it outside. So this will like help us to get out there more experience, so we know that we can do it outside and not get embarrassed.
So, what is the future of this once underground movement that's now emerging so vibrantly into the mainstream consciousness? Already, the experts working with Westminster are involved in projects to construct specialised parkour parks that will provide dedicated spaces in London for people to practice the discipline safely all year round. This and other unprecedented projects are just part of the development of this amazing phenomenon, which possesses almost limitless potential to reach young people in every city in the UK and beyond, and to help them break free from the constraints our urban spaces threaten to impose. As Nelson Mandela once said, sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down barriers. It laughs in the face of discrimination. For a generation that's growing up under ever more stringent rules and regulations, what greater gift can we provide than the vision of freedom found in parkour?
If you feel more comfortable, don't look down. Try to look forward. Yeah, cool. And you can smile, huh? Yeah. If you touch the floor there, it's 1 second penalty.
Alright, true.